Trip Pack exclusively right now. We have signed a contract with TransFlow, so I assume by the end of April we'll have TransFlow up and running. We'll run both programs simultaneously for a little while, just so all the drivers get converted over to TransFlow. It'll be the phone app. We'll be using this for a little while. Hopefully not much more than a month, but I got to go through the whole thing so you guys all know how they work. This is Trip Pack. It's got our barcode on there. You don't have to put an address on it. All you're doing is putting all of your documents in here and dropping it in the Trip Pack box at the truck stop. Takes 2 days to get to Pride Transport from wherever you drop it in the country. You drop it in the Trip Pack box on a Monday, it gets to us on a Wednesday. All right? We process payroll every day, 5 days a week. So it gets to us on Wednesday, we would process it that day. And you get paid for that load immediately. If it's on your ComData card, you'd get paid on Wednesday in that example I just gave you. If you're doing direct deposit, it takes 2 days from the day we process it to get it on into your bank. So a Monday drop, ComData, you get paid on Wednesday. Monday drop, direct deposit, it'll be in your bank on Friday. Okay? Any questions about that? Top left-hand corner of the Trip Pack, you've got the word "of" surrounded by 2 boxes. This is used if you need to use more than one Trip Pack to get all of your paperwork to us for one load. Each of these is for one load. Don't ever try to put 2 loads in here, just one. But if you have a whole bunch of paperwork, it's in your packet. No? Yeah. If you have a whole bunch of paperwork and it just won't physically fit in here, then you may need to use more than one envelope, one of 2. Okay? They both envelopes that have the same load number. You don't have to recreate the entire trip envelope, all of the expenses and extra pays and stuff. You just, on any subsequent envelope, so envelope 2 of 2 would just have your load number and your tractor number on there. Turn them both in at the same time. Penny will get them, our payroll processor. She'll get them and she'll know what's going on and she'll put it together. Okay? Load number, then tractor number, then trailer number, begin date, end date, driver. What we like to see on that driver line is your name first, and then your tractor number in parentheses. Okay? No one here is ever going to call you 2755, right? We're not going to call you a tractor number. You don't have to say when you call in, "Hey, this is 2755," right? Just tell us your name. They need to know your name. They need to know who you are. We like to get to know our drivers, what makes you tick. So name and then driver code in parentheses on there. Begin place and end place. I'm going to demonstrate the begin place and end place graphically so everybody understands it. The begin place of any load is always the end place of the previous load. So if I start off in Salt Lake City and I go to Denver, and then from Denver I deadhead to, say, Cheyenne, Wyoming, and from Cheyenne, Wyoming I load and I go to Chicago. The way this works is this is your loaded movement, okay? Or I'm sorry, this is your begin place. This is your loaded movement here. This is your end place, right? The begin place of this Cheyenne to Chicago load is not Cheyenne. It's Denver, okay? So end place, begin place. This is a DH, deadhead movement. This is your loaded movement. This is your end place. If I were to, extreme example, if I were to deadhead from Chicago to Monroe Township, New Jersey, the company would be broke really fast. But if I was to do that, the begin place of that Monroe Township, New Jersey load would be Chicago. And the reason we have you do that is so it gets your deadhead and pays you for your deadhead. If you put my begin place as Cheyenne, It's not going to pay you for that Denver to Cheyenne deadhead movement. Everybody gets that, right? Trip expenses, top section here. What I want you guys to write on in this block in big bold letters, POs Monday through, or POs 24/7, okay? So in that box, just to remind you, POs 24/7. You get a PO to get the job done and to get the money to get the job done 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Okay, that's the expense section. And the only time that you need to get a PO for an expense is if you're using cash or ComCheck. So write that also in that top section, just somewhere in there, just to remind you that you can get the money and a PO to get the job done 24/7. And the only time you have to get a PO or save a receipt or write anything on here is if it's cash or a ComCheck. A lot of your expenses, the biggest expense is going to be fuel. You'll have a ComData card, swipe the card, pump your gallons, and leave. No POs, no receipts. Don't need to write it on your envelope for anything that you use your ComData card for. Now, it's kind of limited. You can't go, they won't take it at McDonald's, right? They're not going to let you buy lunch with your ComData card. But no, not Burger King either. You can get fuel and cat scales, and at some places you can get additives. So fuel and cat scales, you'll never, as long as you're using your card, you never have to get a receipt. You don't have to get a PO. You don't have to write it on here.
And the cat scales are for every major, like gloves?
Yes. As long as it has the cat symbol on it, they'll take your ComData card as payment. And you don't have to save a receipt. You don't have to put it in here if you're using your card. Okay? Any other time, you're going to be using cash or a ComCheck, right? So if you use your own money to pay for something, we don't ever ask that you do that. You know, we're not going to try to rip you off. You guys aren't how we make money directly. We don't rent trucks. We don't sell CPAP machines. We don't rent cars or anything like that. So nobody's ever going to ask you, hey, you go ahead and pay for it. We'll pay you back, right? But if you choose to use your own money, if you're, buying some washer fluid, you don't want to send in for a ComCheck to pay for some washer fluid. If you choose to pay for it yourself, just put it on here, the date, the name of the expense, the amount, and just request a PO. Okay? There's one macro that you use to request POs for expenses and also for extra pay items, and it's really simple, and I'll show it to you here in just a few minutes. Okay? Any questions about expenses? When do we have to put it on here? With cash or a ComCheck. Yes. When can we get cash or a PO? 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, right? Okay, next section down is the extra pay section. Pride drivers. I've had a lot of questions about, hey, how does the extra pay thing work? How do I fill this out of my trip pack? When am I paid detention? How much is layover pay? So I thought I'd put this little video together to kind of explain those things. Basically, there are 6 extra pay items: layover, breakdown, stop pay, detention, hourly pay, and then the produce layover. Okay? Detention. Detention is paid $15 per hour beginning 2 hours after your delivery appointment. Okay? Not when you got there, but from your appointment time. Detention is paid on any pickup or delivery as long as you follow the rules. There is no detention on produce loads. Now, we pay so much better for the stop pays. A lot of our drivers that make the best money here at Pride haul a lot of produce. So no detention on produce loads, but every other type of freight. It's $15 an hour beginning 2 hours after your delivery appointment. Rule number 1, on time. You have to be on time to get paid for detention. Rule number 2, at 60 to 90 minutes from your appointment time, you have to send in the detention macro. I showed this to you in orientation. You know where it's at. Okay, so detention macro, 60 to 90 minutes. And then rule number 3, you need to send in your loaded or empty call when you get your bills. That signals the end of detention. Okay, so that's how detention works. This has got to go on the middle section or the second section down on your trip envelope, and you need to get a PO for it. Bobby most likely will send you a PO, but if you don't see that PO and you know you're due detention, send in a request for a PO. Layover. Layover is a 24-hour period where you are without a load. So you get empty on Tuesday morning at 8 a.m. If you're not actively under a load Wednesday morning at 8 a.m., we owe you $50. Okay? Same thing. Second section down on your trip envelope, and you must get a PO for layover. Breakdown's basically the same thing as layover. As far as pay goes, your truck's broke down for 24 hours, we owe you $50. We will also pay for a motel if your truck's in the shop. Okay? You have to get a PO for that as well. Let's talk about stop pay. 2 types of stop pay: produce and non-produce. Produce stop pay is paid $30 for every single stop, first and last stop included. You need to get a PO for that. The other type of stop pay is non-produce stop pay. That is paid at $15 per hour per stop, sorry. $15 per stop, but we don't pay you for the first and last. So anything in the middle of your first and last, it's $15 each. And you need to request a PO for that as well. That takes care of detention, layover, breakdown, stop pay. Hourly pay is when you're working. For instance, dispatcher asks you if you'll go deliver a local load here in Salt Lake City. It's not your load. You're just hanging out in the driver's room, and they ask you to go next door and make a delivery for them. Obviously, you're not getting any miles, but you are spending your time, and you deserve to be compensated for that. It's $15 per hour when you're running local or hourly pay. Now, if you have to go next door to pick up a trailer and go load it up north, that's just part of the load. Okay, we're not going to pay you for every little thing that's part of your load. You get paid by the mile for that. But if it's not your load and someone asks you to help them out, it's $15 per hour. You have to get a PO for that as well. The last one is something fairly new. It's produce layover. It's a little complicated, but if you look at it in these terms, you'll know before you even ask if you are eligible for a produce layover. Let's say you have 3 picks. One here, one here, one here. You get to your first pickup and you get that on the trailer, and then you get to your second pickup and the product's not ready and you have to take a 10-hour break. That is a $100 produce layover. The definition is I've started the load, but I couldn't get all of the pickups on in the same 14-hour shift. If it falls under that criteria, the load has been started, but for whatever reason, due to no fault of my own, I couldn't get all the rest of the picks on in the same 14-hour shift. Again, you have to have a PO for that. All of these things need to go on your trip envelope. Top section is your expenses. The second section down is where all of these things go. Okay, got to have the date on there, got to have the name of it, whether it's layover, breakdown, stop pay, the amount, and you got to get a PO. Okay? Obviously, if you have any questions, talk to your dispatcher, or I'm available anytime. Good luck, guys. Extra pay section, POs, Monday through Friday, 8 to 5 only. Okay? You got to get a PO to get paid for what I call extra pays. And extra pay is something that we pay you for in addition, welcome back. We pay you for in addition to your miles. Okay, we're just getting started. We're talking about the trip pack. And those include, and I'll go through all of them, but I'm going to show you a video and you can write them down. Layover, breakdown, stop pay, detention, hourly pay, produce layover. Things that you get paid for other than miles. Okay, we pay loaded and deadhead miles the same. There's no smoke and mirror sliding pay scale here. You make the same rate no matter how long the load is. But anything in addition to your miles, POs Monday through Friday, and they go on this section here, the second section, extra pays. Now, just because I say you can only get the PO Monday through Friday 8 to 5 doesn't mean that you're not going to get paid for something that falls outside of those hours. If you just keep track of this trip pack as you go, you'll be fine. Put it on your dashboard. And as things happen, write it down, even if it's beyond these hours right here. And then when you go to turn in the trip pack, just double check it and make sure you have POs on everything. If you have detention on Sunday afternoon, don't send in a request on Sunday afternoon for a PO for detention, because it'll go whew, right over their busy little heads over there in operations. You need to wait until Monday morning, send it in. The thing about trip pack is they don't move these on the weekend anyway, so it's not slowing your pay down. Anything on the weekend or at night that's going to fall into this area right here, get that PO when your fleet manager is here. It goes directly to him or her. Okay? Any questions about extra pay items? No? Make sure you put them on there. Pay close attention to that. There's a lot of money that is available in extra pay items. That produce layover alone can increase the value to you of that produce load by a lot. I mean, most of our produce runs from California, Arizona, up to Utah. Almost all of it is multiple pickup, but single delivery, so it doesn't matter how it gets loaded. It gives us some latitude to be able to help save you time, and that's the most important thing, is that you're not just sitting at a dock. A lot of produce carriers, they do it all wrong, and yeah, I'm a little proud, okay. A lot of them do it wrong because they don't involve the driver. They just say, okay, here's your load, it's got 3 picks, good luck. We involve the driver heavily to call ahead, kind of preset appointments. There's not a lot of appointments in produce, but we've been doing it for so long with the same shippers, the same customers, that we have a pretty good system. We'll talk a little bit about that later. Okay, trip routing. We'll finish up with the trip pack here. Trip routing, very, very simple. P or D in that left-hand column. You know, the one that says P/D. P for pickup, D for delivery, and then the city and the state where that pickup or delivery took place. That's all we need for routing. You don't have to write road numbers and exits and interchanges. Never understood that. A lot of companies have you write every road you went on. We don't do that. Next section down, load information. Basically, this is telling us where the bills for the load are. Okay? So, dispatch, that's your load number. The commodity that you're hauling. Bills are in the envelope, yes or no? Okay? That is a question. Most of the time, your bills will be in this envelope. The bills are very important to us because we can't bill the customer, obviously, unless we have the bills. So we need to find out where they're at. Most of the time they're going to be here, but there's 3 distinct possibilities where they will not be in this envelope. And the first one is a turn. And I'm going to talk about a turn right now. Let's say I have a load going from Salt Lake City to Stockton, California. I pick it up over here And when I pick it up, they give me some bills, and I take one of these blue and white stickers and I put it on the front page of the bills. Every time you pick up freight, no matter what type of freight, where you're picking it up, every time put one of these stickers on the front page of those bills. Doesn't matter left, right. Don't cover the bill of lading number. That would be defeating the purpose. But it's going to put, you're going to put the load number and the trailer number on there. What that does is it applies a Pride Transport reference number to a set of bills that absolutely don't have any Pride Transport reference numbers on there. Bills historically will have the shipper's numbers, their POs, their order number, their load number. It'll have the receiver's reference numbers, confirmation numbers, PO numbers, but it won't have anything for the carrier. This attaches something for us, and it is the biggest cost-saving, lowest tech device on the planet. It's to the bills. Front page of the bills. You may have 10 pages, 10 copies. It only needs to go on the front page. But every time you pick up freight, we need this on there. If you've got a 3 pickup load that has 3 sets of bills, on the front page of each set of bills, there should be a sticker. And it's going to have the same load number and the same trailer number on it. Because if you've got a multiple pickup load, it's still the same load number, right? So I pick up my freight, I put one of these stickers on the front page, and as I'm driving across Interstate 80, my fleet manager says, "Hey Steve, we need you to do a turn in Winnemucca, Nevada." So I pull into Winnemucca, and what a turn is, for you guys, some of you that are trainees might not even know what I'm talking about. A turn is where 2 Pride trucks meet somewhere and they swap trailers. We do this for 2 reasons: to get a driver home or to make a load on time. We don't do them for fun, because they're really not fun. So get a driver home or to make a load on time, we'll do a turn. You meet that other driver. When you disconnect from your trailer, that load is finished for you. Okay? You give him your bills, the other driver, because the bills always stay with the trailer. Trip envelope's going to stay with me because that's my load and I'm getting paid for it, but the bills stay with the trailer with the sticker on there. You give him the bills, you guys swap trailers, he's going to give you a set of bills as well, right? From the trailer that you're receiving from him. It's a different load number. So when you disconnect and hand him your bills, this load is done for you. Make sure you have any expenses on there, any extra pays. Your routing is going to say what? It's going to say P, Salt Lake City, Utah. That's all. D is a delivery. You didn't make a delivery. It's a turn. You don't need to put it on the routing. It's going to be the end place, right? What started out as a load from Salt Lake City to Stockton, California, ended up being Salt Lake City to Winnemucca, Nevada. And then Winnemucca, Nevada to Stockton, California, that other driver is going to get paid for that movement. As soon as you do a turn, it splits the load into 2 movements. Make sure your end place, that's why you don't want to write your end place on there until you deliver the load or turn it with another Pride driver. Because if you put Stockton on there when you pick the load up, guess what? You're erasing that and writing over it, because now the end place is Winnemucca, Nevada. Okay? Everybody with me? So we've completed our turn. Oh, by the way, don't take bills of lading during a turn from another Pride driver unless he's got a sticker on there. Hand them back to him nicely. Okay? Hand them back to him and say, "Dude, I need a sticker on here because I don't know what load number you have." We're going to send you the load information on the driver tech, but it's a good way to double check that you're really getting the load that you think you're getting. Make sure there is a sticker on there. Okay. So, on our load information, where it says, "Are the bills in this envelope?" we're going to say, "No, they're not. That other driver has them." So, if no, where are the bills? You just write the word "turn" on that bottom line of the load information. Write the word "turn" and then fill out the top 2 lines of the bottom section. That turn section is only to be filled out when you're doing a turn. And the very bottom line on there that says logs, bills, you can just scratch that out. You don't need to fill that in. Payroll does that. Okay, so that's the first instance of not having the original bills in this envelope. Second instance would be a local delivery. When I say a local delivery, you're having one of our local drivers deliver your load here in Salt Lake. Okay? We have 7 or 8, I think, local drivers. They pick up freight around the valley, bring it to the yard. They take freight out of the yard and go deliver it. That's for you guys. So that there's freight in this yard. If you're going to be here a day early, right, we don't want you to sit in the yard for 24 hours to go deliver a load across the street. We want you to have the opportunity to just drop that in the yard, pick up another load here in the yard, and keep on trucking, right? And we'll go deliver your load for you. Now, that doesn't always happen, okay? If I don't have local drivers available, or if freight's slow or whatever, there may be instances where they're going to say, sorry man, we can't do it. You're going to have to wait until tomorrow. The default is you always deliver your own freight, always. No matter where it's going, you're the one delivering that freight, unless you make arrangements for someone else to do it. And this stuff needs to be done in writing. It needs to be done on the driver tech in writing, so that at shift change, from day shift to night shift, or weekday to weekend, they can follow the story that you're telling, right? It's important that everyone know what's going on, so they don't have to ask you 50 times, hey, what are you doing with that load? Well, I explained it to my driver manager. Well, yeah, well, you did it verbally, so the new guy, the guy at night doesn't know what's going on. So put this kind of stuff on the driver tech in writing, so that we don't have to bother you about stuff you've already explained or stuff you've already requested. Okay? So what you do, if you know you're going to be here early, is you send a request to your fleet manager, hey, I want to drop this load in the yard, I want to keep going. Right? He'll talk to the local dispatcher, they'll schedule your load, and then he'll send you back a message, yes, go ahead, drop it in the yard. And in the yard is in one specific place, and that is along the back fence on the south side of the property. We call that the loaded line. You'll back it in, make sure there's plenty of fuel, make sure the temperature's right, and then take those bills in and hand them to your fleet manager. Make sure someone takes possession of those bills. Don't leave them on a counter. Don't leave them in dispatch. If it's on the weekend, give them the weekend guy, night guy, or your dispatcher, okay? So, in that case, are the bills in this envelope? You would also say, no, they're not. If no, where are the bills? Local delivery. You just write local delivery on that line. You don't fill out the turn because it's not a turn. The last one would be if they ask you to leave the bills in the bill box somewhere. And this is pretty rare. It's going to be a situation where we have a drop yard, possibly a customer. You may be leaving the bills at a drop yard where we have a local driver, but it's going to be few and far between, and they will be specific about leaving the bills in the bill box. Don't ever just do it, because if you just leave the bills in a bill box and drop the trailer at a customer, it's going to run out of fuel, and we're going to buy it, and it's no fun. All right, any questions about that? Okay, good. Going to talk a little bit. We're going to go over the trip pack one more time. Lindsay Qualls is our HR director. She handles payroll, benefits, workers' comp claims, so on and so forth. Penny Jones. Penny is one of our payroll people. Carla Thomas is the other. They do a great job. They do about 200 to 300 of those envelopes every day. So please, whatever you do, make sure it's legible. Okay? That's the number one complaint these guys have, is that you guys aren't taking your time to make sure they can read what you're trying to say. That is your time card. It is your pay. We won't ever just not pay you and throw your trip envelope in the garbage, but we might put it off to the side and process the ones that we can read so we can get those done, and then Penny will call you or Carla will call you. You can call these guys anytime. Okay? They take phone calls. Don't hesitate. It's the most important thing is that you get paid accurately, you get paid correctly, and that you know what your pay statement says. Anytime you have a question about pay statements, there's a lot of people in here that can help you with that. You could call me, you could call anybody in payroll, anybody in human resources. Couple of rules, one envelope for every trip hauled. If you're turning your envelope in person here in the terminal to get it processed that day, it needs to get to Penny by 10 a.m. Contain signed bills of lading or a note on your trip pack. We just talked about that at the bottom, telling us where the bills are. Receipts. We need receipts if you're using a com check or cash. Oh, and I'm going to show you how to get POs here in just a minute. Oh, make sure you're writing your load number on all your receipts. If you lose a receipt, obviously we can't reimburse you for something without a receipt, but if you find it 6 months later, we still will. And you'll know what load it was because you'll have the load number written on it. Really quick, one more time for the trip pack. Trip expenses go here. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, we can get you the money you need to get the job done, and we can get you a PO. Receipts for ComCheck or cash. If you're using your ComData card, absolutely paperless. We should never see fuel on here or CAT scale on there if you're using your ComData card to pay for those things. Extra pay items, this is the layover, breakdown, stop pay, detention, hourly pay. Monday through Friday, 8 to 5 to get the PO. Write it down as it happens. And then at the end of the trip, before you turn in your trip envelope, if you have anything notated in either of these sections, it should have a PO on there. Okay? Trip routing, pretty simple. P for pickup, D for delivery, city and state. Load information, this is telling us where the bills are. That's your load number, the commodity that you're hauling. Where are the bills? Are they in this envelope, yes or no? And if no, obviously those things we talked about, that's how you're going to let us know where those bills are. Everybody feel okay with the trip pack? How many of you guys have used a trip pack like this before? Okay. So there's 2 guys I'm not going to have to worry about. Okay. The rest of you, I'll lose sleep over, for sure.
I lose sleep over myself.
You've done it before? Okay. ComData. Okay, everybody's going to get a ComData card. Looks like a Pride Transport credit card. You can have your payroll put on that ComData card. You can do direct deposit, or you can do both. Somebody, I think you mentioned you wanted to have 2 accounts. When we go on our tour, I'm going to point out human resources.
I did too.
Oh, you pointed him out? Because it's not nice to do on your first day. You took care of it, right? Right, good, fantastic. Advances, let's talk about advances. We offer a personal advance. 3 times a week, our computer system will look at your personal advance account. This is personal advance. Don't get a personal advance and then go pay for a lumper with it. Okay, this is, I need some food, need some clothes, I need some bling for my truck or something. Personal advance. 3 times a week, the system will look at your personal advance account. If it's not already at $60 available, it will bring it up to $60 available. It will never be over $60 available at any one time. You can take $60 3 times a week. Okay? You can take it out any day of the week. We will reload it on those 3 days. So, quick example, if you take all 60 out on Monday, you won't have anything available again until Thursday when we load another 60. It is a loan, okay? But we're not like your uncle. We don't charge you any interest, and there's no fee, okay? If you don't use it, it just sits there. But if you do use it, the very next settlement, you'll see a deduction for a personal advance. Okay? The other type of advance that we do is a company advance. And really, if you don't turn in a receipt and you don't get a PO, it's a personal advance. If you call in and say, hey, I got a $500 lumper, nobody's going to say, oh, let me prove it. You know, they're not going to question if you say, I need, $500 for a lumper. They're going to send you a com check for $500. If we don't get a receipt and a PO in return, you just paid for that lumper out of your pocket, right? We don't deduct your pay as soon as we send you the comp checks like some companies do. There's companies out there that don't trust their drivers so much that as soon as they send them that, it's you're guilty and now prove yourself innocent by getting a PO and a receipt. We don't do that. If that trip envelope comes in that you got that advance on and there's no PO and there's no receipt, then we'll deduct from you. Okay? Just make sure, always, always, always get a receipt if you're paying with a comp check or cash. Okay? Fuel receipts, don't need them as long as you're swiping your card. And this advance, this personal advance, this is done at the fuel pump. When you're fueling, it'll ask you when you swipe your card, would you like cash back? That is this advance. You get it right at the pump. Obviously, you got to go into the fuel desk to get your money, but it's done right at the pump. Any questions about any of that? Away we go. Com check. I'm sure most of you are fairly familiar with com check. Com check is worthless until you get a code to put in that box right there. Yeah? Well, luckily, at Pride, you don't have to talk to ComData, ever. You send a request for an advance and a PO, and we'll send it to you. Okay, we'll send you this number. The person cashing this check, whoever you give it to, has to sit on hold with ComData for an hour. Right? They got to get the authorization number. All you fill in on this check is this box right here with the 20-digit, it's called an express code, and you put any Pride phone number right here. 1-800-GO-PRIDE is an easy one to remember. You don't need to fill in these two. A lot of guys say, oh yeah, you do. You got to give them your driver's license number. Well, my driver's license number is 6666666. They're not going to check it. Okay, you don't have to fill those out. These two boxes, and who it's to, the amount, the date, write out the dollars here, and put Pride Transport right there. Okay? The next thing I'm going to show you, I'm going to pull up our system here, and I'm going to show you exactly how to get that advance. What I've done is I've opened up McLeod software. That's our dispatching software. It basically does everything from fueling to payroll to advances to load planning, everything. Messaging, mileage, fuel routing. So I'm going to go into messages here. This driver, Bruce Everett, at 14:52 today, sent in a request to his fleet manager, Flynn Wallace, and he said, hey Flynn, I need an advance code and a PO number. Okay, when you bring up this macro, you can ask for 3 different things. I need an advance code and a PO. I just need an advance code, or I just need a PO. Now keep in mind, this one you'll probably never use. It's very rare out there nowadays where you have an expense and you don't know how much it is exactly. We used to have that for tolls. When you were going to hit a toll road and you just put some money in your pocket and pay it out as you go and get a PO at the end. That's what we used to use that for. Well, now we have Easy Pass, so there isn't any reason that you're going to need cash in your pocket. So anytime you're requesting an advance for an expense, you might as well just get the advance and the PO at the same time. They'll send you the money to get the job done, then they'll send you a PO in that exact same amount. And then all you're missing is the receipt, right? So this driver's asking for an advance code and a PO. Like I mentioned, you won't use this one, but I just need a PO number is used if you pay for something. You buy some washer fluid because it's more convenient for you to just pay $5 and buy some washer fluid than it is to request an advance and wait for the advance. You'll just wait till the end of the load and get a PO and we'll pay you back. That's what that's for. I used my own money for something, I need to be paid back, or it's used exclusively for all of the extra pay items. Anytime you have layover, breakdown, stop pay, detention, hourly pay, produce layover, that's where you get the PO for that. Okay? Everybody with me so far? I need an advance code and a PO. Bruce Everett, put your load number in. He needs 155 bucks. You put the reason code here if that reason is on this list. Anything other than what's on this list, if you need it for something else that's not on here, or if it's any of those extra pay items, layover, breakdown, stop pay, just put OTH as the reason right here and just say layover pay or breakdown pay or whatever. Okay? If it's in this legend, go ahead and use the code. Anything else, just put OTH in there. So, now we're going to go to Bruce Everett's truck and we're going to follow it, the history of just that one tractor, 2619. There's his request at 14:52. 6 minutes later, his fleet manager sent him this, 7 minutes, 14:59. And again, way to go. Okay? So he asked for an advance and a PO, right? Here's the advance. They come in two separate messages. We send you the advance code, and then we send you the PO. And literally, when he sends the advance, it automatically sends the PO if the fleet manager asks for both. So, here's the advance, your wire code, all right? What's the signal for wire code is com check. Here's your com check. Because all a com check is a wire code. Again, you don't need to pay attention to this check number. You don't need to pay attention to that check number. Doesn't mean anything. Here's your important number right here, and that goes, like I mentioned, big long white box in the middle. 1-800-GO-PRIDE there. Fill the rest of it out, 150 bucks. Hand it to the lumping service, right? And stand there and wait for a receipt. Don't hand it to them and walk away and I'll be back in a little while. Because I've seen guys have to pay for pretty big lumpers before. I would get the receipt when you give them the check. Okay? And then immediately following that wire code, you're going to see an extra pay message. Extra pay means here's the extra pay that you're going to need to make up for that com check we just sent you. Because if you don't get a PO, that's going to be money out of your pocket. So extra pay means here's the extra pay to take care of that com check we just sent you, or an extra pay message is here's your extra pay for detention or layover or breakdown. They all look the same. The code will just be different. Okay? So lumper, 155 bucks, PO number 466131. You gave them your com check, you got your receipt, you write your load number on your receipt, go back to your truck at the end of this transaction, date, lumper, 466131 in the PO section, and 155 bucks. Drop the receipt in there, you are good to go. Everybody with me? Okay, let me show you how to get a PO for an extra pay item. We'll just go search these advanced PO requests again until I find one. And I think there was one right there. That's dock time. That's not what we're looking for. All right, here's a day of layover. This driver, Leonard Frutos is his name. He's requesting a day of layover. And he's doing it all wrong. So this is a good example of what not to do, right? Because he said, hey, I need an advance code. We don't send you a com check for layover. We add it to your pay, right? So the first thing I'm going to do before we even look at this, I'm going to see if his fleet manager caught that, or it's highly probable that his fleet manager just went ahead and sent him a PO because he knew what he was asking for. He just checked the wrong box. I would almost bet you. Yeah. So All right. So he asks for an advance code. He really just should have said, I need a PO. Everybody follow that along? All right. Driver code, I need $50. Reason, and he put OTR instead of OTH. Other is what he should have put in there. And at the bottom of this, he does explain it at least. He filled all the rest of it out wrong, but at least he explains it at the bottom here. He's saying, hey, I need a day of layover for April Fools. And maybe this is a joke. All right. So we're going to go. Oh, here's a good one. So he sent this in at what time? At 15:21, and 5 minutes later, at 15:26, his fleet manager sent him this. Now this is good because this explains even further how our PO system works. Our PO system, if you look at the last extra pay message on your driver tech, and the driver tech is always the newest message on top, right? You can't sort it by subject or anything. It's always the most recent messages on the top. All you need to do at the end of your load, right before you go to turn in your trip envelope, is look at your last extra pay message with the load number that you're about to turn in, and it will show you every PO that you've requested for that entire load, expenses and extra pays. Okay? There's no space between them, but it's 4 lines. Okay? Here's his most recent PO. Company layover pay, $50, 466,150. Earlier in this load, he got local pay in Denver. He was probably running around Denver taking care of delivering someone else's load or something. If he had, let's say, a lumper later in this load, it'd go right here. And if he had something beyond that, it'd go right here. So one message, and you can double check your entire trip envelope. Just make sure you're looking at the last extra pay message that you received for the load number you're about to turn in. And if there's any missing on that message, then you're missing them, and you need to request them. Okay? Everybody with me so far? All right.
What's the order number?
Extra pay order number, that's your load number.
That's the load number.
Yeah. You'll see order number, dispatch number. Yeah, it's all the same. Okay. So we're going to pop back into this slideshow. We're almost done. All right. Next, state income tax. And I am going to stand in front of this screen and record me saying this. Today is what? April 4th, 2016. My class is here. I'm showing them the slide that tells them that we do not take state income tax out of their check if they don't live in Utah. Because every April 15th I get calls, you didn't tell me, right? So if you don't live in Utah, we don't pull state tax out of your check. Doesn't mean you're not going to owe it to the state where you reside. It just means we're not taking it out for you. You have to take care of that yourself. Federal tax, yes. But since we only hold business license in Utah, we only have this terminal and a very small one down in St. George, we don't have a business license in any other state. So we don't have to pay state taxes to other states. Keep that in mind. Set enough aside every week, every month, so at the end of the year, you're not the guy calling me, telling me I didn't tell you this. One way that you can get past this on automatic pilot is on your W-4, there's a line right below your exemptions that you're claiming. It says additional amount, if any, I want withhold from my pay. So what you do is you overpay federal, and then at the end of the year, you just take the refund and give it to the state. That way you don't have to worry about it. You don't have to do anything. And it does work. However you want to do it. All right. Deductions, I'm not going to talk too much about that. All deductions are weekly, your medical insurance. Your driver code is not going to be this. It's the first 3 letters of your last name followed by the first 3 letters of your first name. Let's talk about holiday pay before we talk about vacation. March 15th, 2015, Pride Transport announced holiday pay for all truck drivers. We pay for the 6 major holidays: Christmas, New Year's, Thanksgiving, Labor Day, Memorial Day, and the 4th of July. So it's a $100 PO. You don't have to request it. Just automatically, the next trip you turn in after any of those holidays, you will get paid holiday pay. So, all automatic. If you work that day, you get paid just like normal for the work you did. If you don't work, you just get $100.